the woman suddenly realized while driving that the fellow driver she had kindly picked up by the roadside was actually a timid, perverted predator. This moment left Lisa feeling at a loss. She immediately pulled the car over to the side of the road, but the next second, the other person suddenly grabbed his arm and slowly pulled out a sharp knife, threatening Lisa to drive the car to a hotel 10 kilometers away to save her life. Lisa had no choice but to temporarily pretend to be a docile lamb, but deep down, she knew very well that once he drove the car to that place, he would definitely suffer greatly, so he deliberately slowed down to observe the surrounding terrain. After seeing a sign indicating a sharp curve ahead, he suddenly had a bold idea. Seeing that the other person was not wearing a seatbelt, he stepped on the gas and drove the car off the hillside. When Lisa woke up, he found himself hanging upside down in the car, with one leg stuck tightly in the gap under the seat. He couldn't move at all, but fortunately, he saw in the rearview mirror, Nick had been thrown out of the car and was no longer moving. Lisa quickly tended to her wound, but just as she was about to call the police, she realized her phone was nowhere to be found. What was even more terrifying was that Nick moved slightly in the rearview mirror. This instantly terrified Lisa. To save her life, she quickly searched the car for a weapon to defend herself. Then she suddenly noticed the knife Nick had dropped, so she mustered all her strength to grab the knife. But the next second, Nick's big foot suddenly appeared. What Lisa never expected was that this psychopath had only suffered some superficial injuries to his head, and the rest of his body wasn't even scratched. Seeing Lisa's leg stuck, Nick immediately left without a second thought. He planned to come back and play a game of cat and mouse with her. At this point, Lisa was completely desperate. She screamed for help with all her might. However, in this desolate canyon, no one could hear her voice until night fell. Lisa still couldn't escape from the car. After struggling in vain, she realized she needed to conserve her strength, so she grabbed a piece of clothing and fell asleep. Lisa spent the night sleeping in the car. By now, she was starving and thirsty. She quickly grabbed a half-empty bottle of mineral water and took a big gulp, but as soon as she swallowed it, she couldn't help but spit it back out, because she knew how precious water was to her now. Soon it was night again, and he had already fallen asleep. By the third morning, Lisa was suddenly awakened by footsteps outside. To find out what was going on, he quickly picked up the broken rearview mirror to observe the situation outside, only to discover that Nick had returned, holding a handbag. The bag was filled with food and water. It turns out Nick was just there to watch the commotion. He gave Lisa two choices: either starve to death stuck in the car, or become his girlfriend. Starved and desperate, Lisa had no choice but to choose the latter, but she never expected that the next second, Nick would ask Lisa to describe the details of her date with her boyfriend. In desperation, Lisa had no choice but to reveal all the details. She thought this would get her some food, but Nick suddenly changed his mind. He stood up and turned to leave again, leaving Lisa alone in the car, plunged into deep despair.